Welcome to the Cookbook, where we invite guests on to share the ingredients of what has helped make them the successes that they are. All of it, the good, the not so good. You're not going to find anything half-baked here. And our kitchen gets messy sometimes. That's when the fun starts. So come on and join us. Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Cookbook. I'm your host, Iris Goldfeder, and I am super excited about our guest today, Connie Jones. She's awesome, and we actually got to meet last week. Crazy. Everybody that has been on this show so far, I've only met virtually. And last week, and this is going to air in, I don't even know, like March or something. So now we're talking, October, but we actually met in person. We were at a thing called the Fun Friends, which is put on by a group that we're in called the Dames. And there was like 100 and however many, women in the room, and everybody got to like see each other and feel their energy and hug. And it was amazing. And Connie is just a delight. So I'm super excited to have her on. I'm going to read her bio and then you'll get to meet her. So Connie Jones is a savvy business owner. She leads two multiple six-figure businesses. Arise Counseling and Coaching is a private counseling and coaching practice in Peachtree City, Georgia. And you will see that as soon as she starts talking, where she develops their team of 13 practitioners to empower people to thrive in a life of freedom and fullness. And Skylar wants to get in on this. Through her personal coaching brand, Connie Jones Coaching, she coaches heart-centered, mission-driven business owners to soar, and that is capitalized SOAR, in aligned success and build a business and life of freedom, impact, abundance, and enjoyment. A gifted intuitive, wise discerner, and dynamic motivator, Connie guides her clients to break through unconscious and energetic blocks, transform limiting mindsets and ineffective patterns of behavior, and learn to trust their inner wisdom and intuition. And man, is that important. She teaches them how to maximize their time and energy, reclaim their power, harness their superpowers, and make quantum leaps using spiritual principles to make their vision their reality. As a result, they develop into the confident, empowered, visionary CEO, leader, and brilliant change maker they were made to be. Coupled with her creative genius and business strategy, Connie's clients are equipped and empowered to create the business of their dreams with next level success. The result is increased profitability, more free time, expanded impact, and more ease and enjoyment in business and life. So without further ado, let's meet Connie. Hi.
Hello. Hi. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. And we were talking about this right before I started, but we actually got to meet last week and hug and connect. And it's like so crazy to me.
You're real. It's a real. Yeah. It's like, oh my gosh, the person I've been talking to on Zoom for months now is actually real. And I get to when you can embody someone's energy, it's just a whole another level of experience.
And the thing that blew me away about that is that the energy, right, of the people, I'm going to say like 90% of them anyway, that I met was enhanced. It was like, it was like this way, it's amazing. But in person, it was like, holy.
Oh,
crap. Yeah,
totally.
It was intense.
Absolutely. That group of people especially is just incredible. And they're just my people. I could just, you just leveled up the minute you are in their presence. It's so awesome.
Yeah. And and the cool thing about it was, I think for me, because again, we've been talking, everyone's been speaking virtually for like 2 years or whatever. And as soon as you walked in the room, I'm an extrovert, and the third session or the 3 o'clock session on Wednesday, I had to go to my room. I was like, it was like, the energy was just like, whoa. And I was like, it's too much peopling. I'm not used to this much peopling. Like after COVID, right? Yes. I haven't been in front of that many people in a conference.
Yes.
And not just a conference, but of these heart-centered, amazingly talented and brilliant women, right? It was just like, I need a nap. So I went up to my room that I was sharing with Francesca, and I think also the altitude. So it was a combination of everything. I was just like totally overwhelmed. And then I was going, and I have to do karaoke in 3 hours. So I need to figure this out, so, but it was just an amazing experience, and so good to meet you. So,
well, thank you. It was you also. I appreciate that. Yeah. And we look forward to many more times.
Oh, absolutely. So tell us about Connie.
Well, so I have two businesses that I run, and they're similar businesses. I just run them differently. I've had this group practice that I have been a therapist for over 20 years, and when I started out, that's what I was doing. Technically, was therapy and counseling, but I've always done it from the standpoint of moving people forward in transformation and breakthrough, and really helping them, unleash who they really are in their fullness and live in freedom. And I always, because I'm a high achiever, I always attracted the high achievers and the performers and the leaders. And so even when I was doing counseling per se, I was working with people on every aspect of their life, their relationships, their finances, their businesses. And so I was already doing the work of coaching, and didn't know it, and then realized, a few years in, that, oh my gosh, I am coaching. And so I kept I at this point, along the way, I won't tell the whole story of all that, but along the way, had some others join me, and I'm a developer, I'm a builder, so I'm visionary. So I love building things and empowering others to do what they do best and pulling the gold out of them. And so we now have 13. There are 13 of us on our team here at Arise Counseling and Coaching. And and over the years, that has grown, but that is still much more of a traditional counseling model. It's brick and mortar. We do some virtual work, but there are different practices in the counseling world. And so several years ago, I launched my own personal brand and my own personal coaching business. And so I do have Arise Counseling and Coaching, which both businesses are under the umbrella of that, and where I develop that business and develop that team, and we're building something really special here, and that's amazing. But I also now have Connie Jones Coaching, which is my personal brand that where I coach. At this point, I'm only doing the work of, and I say only, I mean, it's an amazing work, where I'm not doing much counseling, traditional counseling. I use counseling in my practice, in my coaching, but I am coaching the best of the best, change makers, the brilliant, people who are out there changing the world, and helping them unleash all of their potential and the possibilities, so that they can build their dream vision for their life and their business. And that's what I love doing. For my clients, most of the time, when in meeting with them in the first few minutes, freedom comes out of their mouth. They're wanting more freedom. They're wanting to do the work that lights them up. They're wanting to make the impact they want. They're wanting to do it with more ease and enjoyment. They're usually feeling overwhelmed, overworked. They feel stuck in some area, or they've spent a lot of resources and a lot of time and a lot of energy, and they're not seeing the results that they want. And so that's when they find me. I come in and we get real clear, and we get real empowered, and we unblock and we unlock and we unleash and build the vision. And it's a beautiful thing. And that's the work I was put here to do and love doing.
That's amazing. So, and, you say the work that you were put here to do, I always felt that, personally I was, and I discovered this probably about 20 years ago, that, I was put on this earth to be of service to people. And it was a jarring phone call where it kind of made me realize that everything that happens isn't about me. It's not about how it affects me. It's about how I was put in the situation to help this person, no matter how much it sucked for me. It was like, that doesn't matter. What mattered was that you were there to help that person. And that was like a heck of a wake-up call. But, you talk about, intuition and everything, right? And I apologize. I'm sucking on a thing because I'm still dry from Denver.
Oh, yes. Oh, I know. I've drank so much water.
Oh, my God. But the whole intuition thing, I mean, that's why I'm with my wife for 20 years. Like, I knew she was the one. It was like a 3-year thing. And everybody was like, you're out of your mind. And I'm like, nah, I'm telling you, I know. And I was right.
You just know.
Yeah. Right. It's just like this.
It's
knowing.
So true. And it is. And that's what I believe. I believe that we all have a divine design, that we have a divine design, a dream, a vision put in us. We're imaginative creatures. We're imaginative beings. We're magical. And that creative, we're co-creators. And that creative magic that we have is, we've got the vision inside of us about what's possible and what that can look like. Mm-hmm. And we have everything in us and around us to support us in doing that and to empower us to create that as our reality in our lives. And everybody benefits when we do it. And when we are lit up and the best, highest, most expanded version of ourselves, then the world is better for it. And we enjoy it. We're in alignment. Our people are going to find us. I mean, everything is just in flow in those moments. And that's the way that we were created to live. And what I realized over, I'll just kind of dive into this. What I realized over the last 20 years and in my own personal journey of trying to fight through the struggle myself and seeing my clients just battle struggle and stress and striving and surviving. And, that's not the way we were made to live. That's survival existence. Right. That's a survival existence. We're survival creatures. We have a high, we have an incredible ability to survive. But we weren't made for survival. We were made for thrival. And I know that's not a word, but we were made for thriving. And so what I saw.
You can make thrival a word. I mean, why not?
Yeah, I just made it one.
Connie just made a word. And so thrival.
Yeah, exactly. And so what I saw over these years of doing this very deep work with people is that that we are all that our reality is a product. That our current reality is a product of all of our patterns, our programs, and our conditioning. The conditioning of our nervous system, the patterns of our behavior that we learned, the mental constructs, the belief systems that we have come to have developed over the years, because that have allowed us to survive. Right. And that have allowed us to succeed up to a certain level. But at some point we realize, okay, wait, I'm this particular pattern, this mindset, this conditioning of my nervous system is it's allowed me to survive and succeed up to this point. But now I'm at a limit. I'm in a limitation, and I've got a lid on me, and I've got to, all right, something isn't working and I'm stuck. And I feel stuck. I feel stagnant. I feel unable to get out from under this place that I don't want to be in. And that is where, that's my magic. That's my power, is where I can see things for people that they can't see for themselves when they're in those places. Yep. And that's just my gift. I learned along the way, it's kind of there are the traps of that too. There are the curses of having that as my gift, but it's a beautiful gift. And I've just embraced it at this point. I've learned how to live with it and how to embrace it. And now I use it for good. And it's caused me some pain in my life, but now I know how to use it for purpose. And so it really is, we're a product of those patterns and conditions and programming until we understand, until we awaken to, all right, this is my programmed, conditioned me. And this is where that's gotten me. Now I want to be here, this is the vision inside of me. This is my dream in my heart. This is what I know I was created for. This is what I know I can do. And this is what I can't not do because it burns so brightly in me. And I help people close the gap. I help people create their vision and their dream that they know they were here to make happen by repatterning, reprogramming, and reconditioning, and pulling out all the gold in the meantime and helping them get super clear and strategic in alignment with the vision and the plan for their dream. And then we build it. And it's the most incredible, beautiful thing.
That's fantastic. And it's so weird because that happens with my clients. Like I'll have a meeting with them and they'll talk and I know. It's like I automatically know. And then last night, this was like, so, we talk about downloads, right? This was, this is so low level, but it was just the way that it happened. We were doing trivia night last night at this place called Taze. And they had trivia night like the first Tuesday. Anyway, but it was like this really weird, random thing that was like, it was wrong or like wrong descriptions of movies. So one of them was young orphan raised by two homeless people, kills his uncle when he's older. And I got I literally got to download Lion King.
Wow.
And so I said, it's Lion King. And they were like, oh, that could I said, I'm telling you, it's Lion King. Yeah. And then there was like another one of like this thing that was said and whatever and I never saw the movie, right?
You just know.
Not the Lion King. I mean, for the next one. So it was like, they were talking about this place and I said, oh, Perfect Storm. Where the hell did that even come from? So, but okay. Yeah. Well, long story short, we won, not because of me, but those two really helped. But it was just so weird how, and that's just an example for the audience of how sometimes you just know things, right? Something just like all of a sudden hits you. Don't ignore it, because I was sitting with one client who is a prospective client, and we were meeting and we were talking, and it was a kennel or a doggy kennel daycare. Guys, they're like so excited right now.
Yeah, they hear you talking about. Yeah,
they hear about talking. There's also like she wants to catch a squirrel so bad, and I'm like, no, please don't catch a squirrel. But I was in a meeting before, and I have like ADD, and I was like, squirrel, literally, there's a squirrel. I'll be right back.
That's hilarious.
Like,
oh my gosh!
But so we met, and when I walked in, the first thing that hit me was community. Like, this isn't a kennel. This is a community. So we sat down and we started talking, and she said, well, we built this, blah, blah, blah. And I said, yeah, you built this community. And she just like stopped in her tracks and she went, oh my, that's what it is. I said, I know. Yeah. And when we have that knowing, we know it, right? There's like, it's like a full body yes or a full body no, we know.
Absolutely.
And you can't, I don't think you can teach it. I think you can guide somebody on how to recognize it, but you can't teach that, right? I mean, Shoshana, who we know and love, right? I was doing some work with her, and she was teaching me the difference of my energy and somebody else's.
Yeah.
And that was a game changer for me. Like, huge.
Oh, yeah. It's really powerful.
It really is. And I know that you, and I want to talk about this because I know people shy away because it's political and all this crap, but I don't care. You're very faith-based, which I think is amazing because you are to me, you are the example of what a true Christian should be. So when well, I mean, it's true. When you post in the group and you're like, Christian business owners, I've seen that so many times, and I get an affront, not from you. I get like, I'll see it and I'll get this affront because of what the most Christians, do to me personally. Sure. And I saw, and it was so interesting because I saw you, do the, Christian business owner pod, whatever. Yeah. And I felt warm. Like I felt warm, and And I want people to know that there is a difference. That when you hear the word, because my wife gets so mad at me because she's very Catholic. She believes very deeply in Jesus. She says her prayers every night. She's not happy with Catholicism because of how divided everything is. But, and I'll be like, oh, God, this person's, a Christian, whatever. And she's like, really, that's rude. And I'm like, I don't mean it that way. So I have a different term. I call them Christians, which is my own coined phrase.
Right. I totally understand.
You are like the real deal. And so it just makes me feel so comfortable and good. Like when I got to hug you last week, it was just like I'm hugging a true, person who, So I think that should be celebrated.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. And I do understand what I was victim to a lot of religious abuse and fundamentalism growing up, legalism, and that's been a lot of my work to do, is to come back from that. And I got out of the church for a little while because I was so wounded by it.
Wow.
And then but I know the difference now between religion and relationship. And it's all for me about heart and love, and it's all about love and grace and the love of, and I happen to, the love of Jesus, but like, I don't I don't have any right to persecute if anybody believes something different. How do I know? I'm not the authority here. I know what I've experienced in my life, because of the power of, God in my life. But I don't have any need for it to look any way for anybody else. And I just want to be here to love.
Yep.
And there's enough pain and brokenness and woundedness in our world without us doing that to each other. So, I do, I work with, a lot of Christian business owners, but I love, I'm also an intuitive, so I get the woo-woo side of things, and I
know that's what I love about it. It's like you're like a Christian woo, and it's like that would be like this like juxtaposition, or like a almost like a oh, what's the word I'm looking for? Oh, come on, you know what I mean? Like
I do know what you mean, but I can't think of it either. It's terrible.
I can't think of it anyway. But it's so
oxymoron, or
no,
oxymoron, is
like a
I know it's the worst, isn't it? Oh
I
my
know.
Gosh.
3:00 in the morning, I'll wake up and I'll be like, oh, that's the word. I'll text you. I'll be like, this is the word.
I do that all the time. Oh my goodness.
Anyway.
If you think of it, it'll come when you're not thinking about it. But let me go back to something you said just a minute ago. I just wanted to say about our intuition, about the woo in us, about the, whether you call it the Holy Spirit, whether you call it God, whatever it is, it's a deep inner wisdom. Yeah. And that's innate. That is what we were made. It's our compass. It's our inner compass. And that's what I love helping people come back to. But what we learn along the way is that we can't trust it. We shut it down. And when we move into it's now, this is just straight science here. Science has proven that when you're in that survival state, when you're living in survival, you don't have access. You shut off your inner wisdom and your intuition. You don't even have access to it. And so we live as a society, as a culture, in this closed off state of, disconnected from our power, disconnected from, our greatest source of connection, our greatest source of creation, our greatest source of all of it. And we don't even know it. And we're living in limitation. And that breaks my heart. So it doesn't matter to me how someone terms it or I just want people to open back up to what's in them, because I know that that's the divine inside of them. However you want to term it, I don't care, but that's the divine inside of us. And that's the magic and the brilliance that we've all got to get back in touch with, because otherwise we do live in survival and limitation and restriction and constriction. And that's not, that's stealing, that's robbing us of our divine inheritance. I mean, like,
Right.
we have a birthright to be, these brilliant beings with everything available to us. And it just breaks my heart to see people live in that struggle and that stress and that survival when there's another way of functioning and another way of harnessing that power within.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just about learning how to wake up to it and how to connect back to it and how to turn off the noise that gets in the way of it so that you can hear it and learn to trust it. And when you do, it is like there's one life that we live before the awakening, and then there's another life that we live after the awakening.
Yes.
And that's the beauty of what I get to do every day. And I know you do you do something very similar. And that's what, like, there's nothing better. And I don't care. I don't care, I don't have any need to do that in from any rigid way. I just I want people to live in the fullness of who they were made to be. That's it.
Right. And I think that, when you say, before the awakening and after the awakening, for me, like I've always felt things, but I shied away from it because I just didn't want the responsibility. Like I literally saw things. I was like, I don't need to see, like there was not a joke, but when my mom passed, 2 weeks before she passed, I had a dream that she was young and in this, like I see it like it was yesterday, white pants, blue shirt, that I ended up getting the blue shirt, but that was like another story. And she was young and vibrant and we were on the phone and I pictured her on the phone and I said, because I had just spoken to her the day before and her voice was fragile and she just wasn't really clear because she had cancer. So, and she called and I answered the phone. I'm like, hi. And she's like, hey. And I went, Ma? She's like, yeah, what? I'm like, you sound good. Like, how are you feeling? And like, I didn't realize for a minute that I was dreaming. Right. And she said, I feel great. She goes, I've never been better. And I went, oh, right on. Okay. So she goes, so I'll see you next week. And I went, okay. And I hung up and then I saw her and then she passed. But, and then my dad, freaking same thing, like 2 weeks before he died, it was, hey, we were walking down this thing and his like, and he didn't have any legs because he had diabetes. So we're walking down this like viaduct and his hernia was gone and he had legs. And I went, we're walking.
Wow.
And he was like, yeah. I said, you're good. He goes, I feel fantastic. And I was like, okay. And I woke up and I knew. I was like, oh crap, so, but he was gone. And then I told my cousin, and then not that it's a joke, but it was like, if Iris dreams about you and you're young and healthy, you better get your shit together now because you're done. You got 2 weeks.
That's right. Exactly. Oh my God. But you're so intuitive. You're so gifted that way. And we all.
But I didn't want to know that, so I stopped. Right. I was like, I don't want to know anymore.
Well, it's scary before we understand what to do with it.
Yes. Now, so about 3 years ago, I guess 4 now, right, with COVID, I started mindfulness and I started, just weird stuff started happening, and it was pretty much the universe, God, however you believe.
Sure. Yeah.
Being like, yeah, you don't get to ignore this anymore. This is a gift. You're a light worker. Bam. Yeah. And it was like, okay. And it was scary. But once I leaned into it, like, you're right. The rest of it not that it didn't exist, but it didn't exist like this.
That's right. Yeah. It becomes, instead of a curse, it becomes a blessing. And I'm not trying to, I was not even going to mention my book because I wasn't even, and nobody even knows that really, like, not nobody, but like most people in the names don't even know I've written a book. I wrote a book about my story of discovering my gift of intuition and of
why don't they know
all this? Well,
now they're going to know.
I don't think about it much. It was a few years ago. But if anybody wants to, like, I talk about that, like how I do believe that people's gifts often show up in their lives as these curses but I know that the superpower that I didn't, before I realized that I have these superpowers, I thought that it was the things that I hated about myself. It was the things that, like, when I, could see people the way that, I could see things other people couldn't see, and I knew things other people didn't know, and it scared me. And it was because I felt like something was wrong with me because other people didn't know it. And I felt like I'm like crazy here. Like something's, like, how can everybody else just ignore this? And how can everybody else go on with this? I would see what would be the healthy version of someone and they couldn't come out of the unhealthy, or I would see dysfunctional patterns, and without judgment, just with pure love and compassion. But they would see, and I'm going to take my jacket off, but they would not see it. And it was, and I just felt like, oh my gosh, like, what is wrong with this? I must be the problem here. And so I lived like that for years and went into this deep depression and anxiety and had all these, these struggles and an eating disorder and, was suicidal. And until I had my spiritual awakening, until I realized, oh my gosh, like, and actually God spoke to me that, he told me, he goes, no, you're a heart warrior. You're a warrior for people's hearts. And I tell a whole big, long story. It was a long story. And like all these pieces had come together about like why I was so, so interested in certain things, and, how he used the words heart warrior, because those were some things that I had just loved and had been drawn to. I mean, just this whole, and I tell the whole story in the book, and about how I discovered my purpose and how then I lived in, now I live in purpose and use that to help others. But before we understand what it is, it feels overwhelming. And so, and I see that, and that's why I love working with business owners now who are the change makers, because the practitioners, the therapists, the coaches, the healers, the helpers, we all are so gifted, but oftentimes we don't know how to harness our gifts in a way that doesn't hurt ourselves. And so we end up in burnout, sabotage, lack, struggle, self-hatred, unworthiness, imposter stuff. And we let people walk all over us, and we have no idea. And I went through every bit of that. And, and finally, not that I have it all figured out, because I sure don't. But I have done my work to the point where I know myself so well now. And because I know myself so well, and understand how we were made to function, and we were wired, and we work, and how gifts work, and how purpose, works, and all that comes against us. Now I feel really empowered and equipped to help other people, pull that out of themselves, and, help them step up into the, to the expanded version of themselves, so that they can feel empowered themselves in their giftings. And then,
I mean, I love that, because so many, especially entrepreneurs, right? They don't see it. And I always say, if you ever really want to get to know yourself, become an entrepreneur.
That's right. It's the greatest personal development journey ever.
Woo, girl. And it's funny because, for me, and I know Fabienne said something Thursday morning about me. And then, of course, Annie's like, Fabienne said this really cool thing about you. And then you come walking in late and you're looking like, where's my seat? And I was like, but it was true, because, a year and a half ago when I restarted Gas Stove, and, I had gotten out of just a business relationship that didn't work. Yeah. I wasn't feeling really good about myself. I had this condition from COVID, and I still didn't know if I was, going to be okay. I mean, I thought that I was, but I wasn't 100% sure. And then I went to the doctor, and it was March 10th. And he said, you're good. Everything is stable. It's chronic. You have to come back once a year, but you're good. And I didn't realize that I'd been waiting a year and a half or a year to die. Right. Mm-hmm. Didn't even think about it. So when I realized, oh crap, like, I'm okay. I can do the things. It took about a month for me to lick my wounds from, the partnership. And then I called Kofi up and I was like, okay, I'm ready to do a podcast. Let's do a podcast together. And he said, yeah, no, you're doing it alone and I'm going to produce it. And I went, no, let's do one together. We could do like this really cool thing. And it could be like kind of political, or I'm like, I don't know, we could figure something out. And he went, no, you're going to do it by yourself. And, I was like, but I don't want to do it by myself, And then it was like, well, then what is it going to be about? And then, okay, entrepreneurship. And then it was like, well, what are we going to name it? And, then we named it. And because, Gastro Creative, the cookbook, everything kind of like tied in together.
I love it.
And it was this like culmination. And so, my business restarted and I started rebuilding things, and I joined the Dames, and I met these amazing women who lifted me up. Like, I can't even tell you, it's just such an amazing group of women. And I started feeling not just back to myself, but better than I ever was.
Yes.
And
absolutely.
So, you know what I mean? And then, so
I do,
we do the Dames thing, and then Megan's like, oh, we need a planning committee. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'll be on the planning committee. And then I said, we need to do karaoke. So we have to figure that out. And she goes, well, you're going to run it. And I'm like, I'm not going to run that. Like, I was freaking out going, I am not standing on that stage with those women, I stand in front of like 5,000 people, whatever, but that was like, oh my goodness. So, we end up, doing the whole thing, and it really hit me. I think Wednesday night, when everybody got together and, everyone just got there and we were hanging out and having drinks at this place down in Denver. And then the next day when I was in the room, it was like, not only did I belong in that room, I could help other people feel like they belonged in that room.
Yep.
And it was the most incredible, overwhelming feeling. And when Fabienne and I were talking, she said, well, when do you want to start karaoke? And I was like, I don't know. And I just kept hugging people. Like, I'm not a hugger like that. I kept hugging everybody that I could possibly hug. So I gave her a hug and I said, it is so amazing to be, with you. And I started crying. Yeah. And she was like, let it out. And I'm like, I don't know why the hell I'm crying. And I said, I never thought I would belong in this room. I never thought that I would be good enough and that much of a businesswoman and that much of a human to be in this room. And the fact that not only am I in this room, but people look to me, to mentor them, to talk to them, to help them. Yeah, it just blew my mind, and it just overtook me, and that was why I cried. And so many women came up to me. They were like, "Oh my God, you're Iris. Everyone told me I need to meet you." And I was like, "What?" Like, it just was like, what? So it was just like this amazing, an amazing experience. But when you own your expertise and you own who you are and you own your power, man, it was amazing. It was just this amazing thing. And then of course, karaoke was fun, but
of course. And you killed it. I mean, you absolutely killed it. I'm telling you, that was something else. We talked about that at the beginning of the show, right before we came on, that you just were lights out. So good. So that's your hidden talent.
It's not hidden. I mean, that's what I do. I sing professionally, but it was just like weird.
I didn't know that. Oh my gosh. That's amazing.
Yeah. Wow. That was the only reason. If I didn't sing, I was like, hell no. But, it was just one of those things that I was like, oh, okay. I said, I'm going to do this. So I'm going to do this. I told you I switched songs last minute because of the altitude and stuff.
Yeah.
But for me, it was just like, okay, this is make or break. You're right. Do or die. And I just got out there and I just gave it, my all. And then karaoke just in general was just introducing the different people and watching them out of their comfort zones, because there were a couple of women that were like, I can't sing. It's like, who cares? Get up, have fun.
Right.
This isn't professional singing. This is having fun.
Exactly.
You know, what I do is different, but because I'm running the damn thing, but you have fun.
Absolutely.
Have fun. And,
yes.
And they did. But I guess my point is that we all have this person inside of us that, tries to hold us back.
Yes.
And I think that, you have to get to that point within yourself. And it takes a lot of inner work. I mean, this doesn't just happen, right?
Sure.
It takes a lot of inner work, which is where people would come to, work with you, to kind of go, wow, okay, I am this and I do deserve this and I have earned this. It takes a lot. So, and that kind of brings us to, to this. So, what advice do you have, right, for someone who's thinking about becoming an entrepreneur? Because there are people out there, Connie, that, maybe they just got fired. Maybe they're in a job that they hate. And I don't want to be this corporate bashing, because everybody's always like, oh, we talk about corporate bashing. I get it. You know what? But corporate isn't for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. Yeah. So, and I'm lucky enough to never have been in corporate. I didn't, I was in corporate and sales, but not from I had a lot of freedom in the sales industry that I was in. But yeah, I do hear, I know a lot of people who, have this, they, over the years have sat in my office and have said, I always ask the question, if you could wave a magic wand and really live the life that you want, and you could really do what you wanted. And then they just, like, it doesn't take long for them to tell you. And they'll say, well, I would just, and it just comes out and you're like, oh my gosh, like that's the freest, fullest version of you doing that right there. And that's what we were created to do. But we live in all of this programming and what we should do and how it has to be and what's possible for us. And, and so I do believe that, we all have this dream inside, and we either are going to listen and we're going to honor that dream and we're going to build it, or we're going to die with the song still inside of us. And again, entrepreneurship is not for everyone, and that's okay. And we need every type. Entrepreneurship doesn't mean it's better, that you're any better than anybody else. It just, but if that's the calling you have in your heart, then I say go for it and do it. And but get the guidance. It's so important. That my thing is if I've got one, like Mary Oliver, one of my favorite poets, says, you have one wild and precious life. And if I've got one wild and precious life, I want to live it to the full potential, and I want to show up as the freest, fullest version of me every single day, or I'm living a lie. I'm not, like, I say God, but whatever you want to say, God created one of me. And if I don't live me, then me will never live. And so, I got this one opportunity to unlock and unleash all that's inside of me. And I'm just the kind of person that can't not live that. And so, and that's where, and I love empowering other people to do that themselves. And that's what we were made for. And so whatever's in your heart, connect to it, listen to it, because if not, that whisper inside will become a roar at some point, and it will come out sideways. And if we're not living in alignment with who we really are, we will develop dis-ease in our body in one way or another, energetically, spiritually, physically, mentally, emotionally, somehow. And so it's going to come out sideways. You're not hiding it. It's going to come out. And so I say, connect to your heart, reignite that passion inside, live that dream.
Yeah.
Ask for the help that you need. You don't have to know the how, just because, we want certainty and security in our lives so badly that we stay in survival mode. And what I'm saying is, I'm just encouraging people that, like, I know it's uncertain and I know it's scary, but like, what other choice do you have if you, you either live in that survival place, which is a prison, or you unleash it and you ask for help. And that's what we're all here for. And, I remember that when I was at that precipice of like, all right, I'm either going to go for my dream and I'm going to do what I know is in me, or I'm going to, die with this song still inside of me. I had to ask for help too. And I didn't know. I can still remember the moment when I had no idea where to turn or how I was ever going to make it happen. But that's not our job to know how we're going to make it happen. It's our job to be open to the possibility and curious and set the intention about what we're going to decide we're going to live. Mm-hmm. And then help shows up. If we ask, and I didn't, I asked God, but, ask the universe, ask whoever you ask, and it will show up. That person will come along. There are people out there who are, have walked the journey and who are more than welcome to help. And there are resources available for you to have the help that you need to build your dream. Right. And so I say, do it. And you can't. The other thing is build your dream. Don't build it the way that you think. I built the way I built what I thought I had to build at first. And now I teach people how to build it in the way that is in alignment with who they really are and what lights them on fire from the first place.
Right.
Because I was lucky enough to get on the other side of and build. Now I live my dream, but your answers are within and you are the confident expert. And what your intuition will tell you what you want. And I say, build it the way that you want to build it, because when you are building it that way, it's going to light you up and it's going to offer the people who need what you have in the unique way that you process it, deliver it, and transmit it in the only way that you can, uniquely you. They need it that way.
Right.
Your people need it the way you've lived it. Your people need it the way you just transmit it. They need it the way you deliver it. And they do that. And my people need it that way from me. And so if we're not doing that, we're cheating ourselves and we're cheating the world.
Right. No, 100%. And one of my biggest thing is, about authenticity, and you need to be your authentic self, because if you're not going to be, who is?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, if you're not going to be you, there's no other you. So,
that's right.
So you have to figure that out. And
that's it.
And like everybody who knows me knows that, sometimes I curse like a sailor and, whatever. But I think that, the really cool thing for me is I'm unapologetic about who I am now. I mean, there used to be a time where I was like, ooh, I curse a lot, or, ooh, I'm not perfect. And now it's like, no, I'm not perfect. Hey, guess what? Nobody's perfect, right? The universe, God, whatever you want to call, whoever you believe in, they're perfect, not us. And so, exactly. Right. And so we're fallible. And what I love about it is that, I look in the mirror now in the morning and it's like, I truly love myself and I love all bits. And I'll be like, hey, you go have a good day. And if you don't, shit happens. And I do that every morning because you know what? Some days are really good and some days are shit shows.
Absolutely.
It just is. And this morning I woke up and I was like, today may be a shit show. I'm not 100% sure because I didn't sleep real well last night. I'm still trying to catch up from Denver. And the dogs, normally I sleep in a little later, but they were like, no, you're getting up now.
Oh, yes.
Tyler gave me kisses and then she did a face smash and then Piper came over and put her butt in my face and I'm like, okay, I'm getting up.
Exactly.
So, but it was just like, it's okay. And I have so many people, there's this one woman who we both saw this week. I'm not going to use her name because not without her permission, but, this woman is bigger than life. She's amazing. She's so well known. And we were staying at the hotel together, a different hotel. This was after the Fun Friends was over, and she and I were staying at the same hotel. And she goes, it was the next morning we met for breakfast, and she'd have makeup on. And she goes, oh, Queen, I'm going to look better. I'm going to put more makeup on. And I went, don't apologize for how you look. Like, you're apologizing for how you look. Are you even kidding me now? I'm like, do you know who you are?
Yeah.
And she just kind of looked at me and went, Thank you, Queen. I needed that. And what it showed me, though, was even the greatest of the great have their moments.
That's right.
Right.
Absolutely.
And it was like, and she was doing this big thing that Monday, and I sent her this like, message of support, just going like, slay it. You got this. You're gonna kill it. And it made me realize that everybody, you could be freaking Oprah, for the love of God. Everybody needs that support, that, stop worrying about this shit. You've emerged. Literally, you are the phoenix that rose from the ashes, and you're worried about your makeup.
That's exactly right. Yes.
So,
yes.
So that kind of blew me away. So what's like an obstacle that you may be going through now, or that you've been, gotten to the other side of, that, some of us seasoned entrepreneurs, might be going through and are going, how do I deal with this?
Yeah, well, I will say our biggest obstacle always is ourselves.
I knew you were going to say that.
I'm still trying to get out of my own way. I still get in my own way all the time. It's a constant battle between our ego and our higher self. And ego and I call ego edging God out. Our divine, the divine part of us. There's this divine part of us that is limitless and limitless potential and this brilliance. And then there's this part of us that is a survival being that is living our conditioning and our programming and our patterning. And we're always in, the two are in conflict with each other all the time. And so I am always I'm always choosing, I'm hopefully most of the time choosing to live out of my expanded self rather than my survival self, my ego self, that is so limited and constricted and likes the certainty and the familiarity, but is, that's such a limited existence. And so, yes, me getting out of my own way is the biggest thing. And learning how to surrender, learning how not to, I'm building something so much bigger than me. So I'm not supposed to be in control of all of it. I'm not supposed to have it all managed. I'm not supposed to have all the answers, to have it all figured out. And that's okay. Doesn't mean I'm not enough. It means that it means I've got everything available to me it means I'm the vessel to be able to build it. And, so the ways that I've gotten in my own way is trying to do it all right. Trying to manage it myself, trying to look for wisdom, look for the answers outside of myself, thinking that somebody else has the magic that I don't have, and that questioning my own magic and my own brilliance, and not trusting the answers are in me. The other things that I have done are the ways that I've gotten in my way are my spending my time, my energy, and my resources in ways that are not allowing me to be my best self, that are not allowing me to work in my brilliance and my zone of genius. They're not moving my vision forward in a way that is in alignment with what I'm trying to create, but it's actually, people pleasing, approval seeking, allowing people to cross over my boundaries, all the things that we all struggle with, lack mindsets, the whole bit. And so I have learned that it's really about that I do have the power. I just have to embrace it and embody it and learn to live from that self. And that the minute I decide, I define, and I declare, then I'm serious about I've learned not to come from a place of want and desperation, but to come from a place of intention, to come from a place of, no, this is what I'm choosing, and I'm deciding, and then I'm defining. And then I'm declaring, this is what I'm going to do. I don't have to know how. I can trust that I have supernatural resources and wisdom and all of that available to me. And I just have to connect with that. And in living out of my expanded self versus my survival self, and this is what I help people do. When I'm living out of my survival self, I don't have access to any of that. When I'm living from my expanded self, I have access to all of it. And so it's just learning how to trust that and learning how to live that way. And when you do, it's a game changer. And so I've learned how to get out of my own way. The other thing that I'll say real quickly is another thing that I've struggled with is that whole thing of thinking that the answer, more on the subject of thinking the answer is outside of me, looking to everybody else to follow these cookie cutter strategies and formulas for what my business should look like, or how I should show up in the world, or who I should be, or what I can't do, or, how I should be spending my time and my energy, instead of really trusting what's inside of me. Because the answers are there. And when I do trust myself, it's, I realize that I'm actually, not me, not the 3D me, but the 4D, 5D me, the spiritual me, is the wise me. And it's the powerful me. And so it's just learning how to access all of that, and teaching other people how to live from that place. And it's so fun when we do, and realizing that nobody else has it all figured out, and you don't have to either, but you have access to to everything that you need in order to be your best you. And so when you tap into that, it's like, woo, I hit the treasure trove, I hit the gold mine. And it's just about connecting to that every day and living from that place.
Yeah. It's such a good feeling, like that aha moment.
Yeah.
When you have that aha moment, it's like, oh,
yes.
Yay. Totally. Thank you. Cause totally. And you had many aha moments. I mean, I was talking to somebody, not like, God, like my weeks are messed up. I think it was like a couple of weeks ago. And she said, I remember when I had my aha moment. And I said, you only had one?
Right.
And she said, what do you mean? I said, you only had, I'm like, I have aha moments. I probably have 3 aha moments a month where I'm like, oh, okay, duh, so.
Absolutely.
And it's just one of those things that you have to, realize and accept that, there are going to be bad days and you are going to make mistakes. The only thing you could do is, own them and fix them and move on. Right. Like like Kimberly says, straighten your crown.
That's right.
That's not like straighten your crown, but
exactly.
At the end of the day, I think that, we're all human. And I think that, gosh, at least I hope that, I'm going to say most of us want to do the right thing, right? We want to, do something that's going to make a difference, in people's lives. I have my not-for-profit that, it's near and dear to my heart. And I know that it makes a difference in my community. Yes. As far as the difference that I make in the world, I hope that when I have conversations with people, whether they're here or in a different country or, wherever, right, that I can impart some kind of a loving knowledge or a loving something onto them, so that it kind of affects them in a way that they want to do it. So it's like this pay it forward kind of thing. That's what I really want to see happen, because there's just so much sad right now and crap going on that we need all the love that we can get. So
absolutely.
By the time this thing airs, I have no idea what's going to happen with Israel and Gaza. And there's so much unrest in the world. So, and I'm getting, of course, my little, every time I get a thing, my head itches. But, so, I mean, I think you already talked about this, but what is your differentiator? I don't want to be like, redundant, but, you have this, everybody has something different, because there's a million coaches out there, and there are a million coaches that say we're intuitive and all this stuff. And I'm going to mute while you tell us, because
I love doggies. So my differentiator is that, that I have unique experiences and unique gifts and passions, and all of that comes together, in my unique way, is going to attract certain people to me who need it the way that I transmit it, deliver it, and process it. But to get more specific about what I do that's so different is having been the therapist. I say I'm the trifecta. I'm a therapist, so I can go as deep as you need to go. There's no wound that I can't, that I can't help heal and set you free from. There's no pattern of behavior that we can't get to. There's no conditioning piece that we can't, recondition. And so I just really help people get to true freedom. There's no stone that we leave untouched. In addition to the transformation coaching that I've done for years, just helping people unlock the potential inside of themselves. I just have a sixth sense of being able to do that. I see people through God lenses. I can see, it's kind of like, I see the finished product. I see who people were made to be and help them. I know intuitively, instinctively how to get them there to that place. And I trust that process. And that's just kind of my gifting. And so between being able to go back to any stuff that's holding somebody back as deep as we need to go, to the patterns and the programs and the conditioning that we need to shift in the present that we see are not working, and helping unleash you and pulling out all the things that, and I just have this way to call people up into who they were made to be, and pull out the gold. And then I also do the business strategy side. But I do it from a standpoint of really helping people get clear on, all right, what are your values and what life do you want to live and what really matters to you and how do you want to show up in the world, and let's build it that way. And I've got that business savvy that allows me to teach the nuts and bolts of business. So we've got the whole picture. So, you get it. And I know that's, it's a holistic way of coaching the human, the leader, developing them into their fullness and helping them strategically create their vision for their business and live aligned in their purpose in the life that they love, all in one. And it's fun to be able to, not that I'm superwoman or better than anybody else, I'm not, but I can do it all in that way because God's just given me that gift. I just see holistically, but yet I can go in and, and pull out the pieces that are holding people back and really help them get to, who they are and what they want to create and bring that to reality. And it's just this beautiful thing that I love doing.
That's amazing. And, it's funny you say that because I think one of my gifts also is guiding people on their path. And I had, this was a while ago. I was in the doctor's office, and the nurse is doing my vitals and blah blah blah, and she goes, "Do you need a note for your employer?" And I said, "No, I own my own business." Right? And she said,
"She's a real slave driver."
I know, right? She goes, "Yeah, she's a real rat." So she goes, "You own your own business?" I said, "Yeah." She goes, I can't believe that. I've been thinking about doing that." And I said, "Oh," I said, "What were you thinking of doing?" I said, "Like medical?" She goes, "No." She goes, "Like culinary."
Wow.
So I said, "Oh," I said, "So if like a restaurant?" She goes, "No, a food truck." I said, "So do it."
Yeah.
And she just looked at me, and I said, "If that's your love," I said, "Do it." I said, "Are you happy here?" She goes, "Happy enough." I said, "Save your money."
Yeah.
Save your money for the down payment of a food truck and then go do it. And she looked at me with her, she was slack jawed.
Yep.
And I said, "What?" And she goes, "I've been struggling with this for 6 months.
Yes.
I've been trying to talk to my mom. We've been trying to figure it out." She goes, "And you just come walking in here and just solve it." And so she said, "Thank you." And I said, "You're welcome." And I'm like, and so she leaves and she goes, "I truly believe God sent you to me today."
Yeah.
So she leaves. I'm crying like a baby before the doctor got in. I was just like, "Oh, like what?" And then I, thank God in the universe. I have and we'll talk about this offline, but I have this weird relationship with, God in the universe, because I have a hard time saying God, but I always say God. So, but anyway, but
he's okay with that.
I know, right? But whatever, gift I have, and I knew that I wasn't there by accident. And I had found myself in that situation so many times that it's mind boggling. And I know it's like somebody will walk in and be like, oh, and I'm like, okay, just sit down. I'll help you.
Yeah.
I know.
You bring up a good point. This just made me, something just hit me is, I don't know that we say enough that just how important this work is to us, how meaningful it is, because most of us who are the light workers in the world, who are the change makers, we're doing it because we had a struggle. We've been on our faces. We know what the pain of the other side looks like. Yep. And so it's just as important for me. I don't do this. Yes, I have to make a living, but I love making a great living, and I feel worthy of making a great living. And I am appreciative of that. But like, I would do this regardless. This is my life's mission. This is not just, it's as important for me, for my clients to get breakthroughs as it is for them to pay me to do this work. Right. It's like, it's so meaningful when we see them win. When I see somebody unlock and unleash and like show up in the world and live their dream, that's a dream for me, because that's why I have lived all of these years doing this work on myself, to be able to say the things that I do to people to help them step into who they are.
Right.
And otherwise, why am I here? Like my life has I don't mean that I have no worth.
I was going to say, don't say that, but
my life is not near the level of meaning that it does when I'm not sharing empowerment or equipping or inspiration or encouragement with somebody. It's just what I do, because it makes all that I went through worthwhile.
Well, and that's it, right? What I said earlier, the stuff that we go through isn't for us.
No.
I really believe that we go through what we go through so that somebody else doesn't have to.
Absolutely. We get to impart it to other people who don't have to have the same struggle that we do.
Yeah, it's like, please, if they listen to us, because there's a lot of people who don't listen. It's like, if you listen, I can help you avoid this, but you need to really, really listen. So
absolutely,
it's just so funny. And the fact that that we've been given these superpowers, right? This gift that we get to share with the world and share with people that are in need. I feel grateful every day for it.
Absolutely.
And it's just kind of, it's crazy. And it's no accident that we met. So I know that for a fact. So not at all. So what, we're like overnight. This always goes so fast, right?
And I don't you say all the time, like, I just wish I could just do this every day, all day. Just have just have conversations with people about real things, about real life, about just to encourage other people, like, and share what authentically. I mean, that's just my favorite thing in the whole wide world.
Yeah, no, me too. And that's this podcast. Like, I usually have 6 questions I ask. I let it take me where it's supposed to. So the people that are listening to this right now are supposed to be hearing this.
That's exactly right.
Period. Right. So that's just kind of, and I ask the questions. If I get them all, I do. If there's, but I only go to what's pertinent. And
we have no idea where it's going to go, but it always goes in the right place for somebody.
Yes, exactly.
Yep.
So I want to say thank you for taking the time out of your day, because I know you're busy. Where can people find you? How do they get hold of you?
Oh, well, thank you. This is just a joy. It really is. It's just it lights me on fire. And I think you've been putting up my website.
We have, but people are also listening, not just watching.
So Connie Jones Coach. So www.conniejonescoach.com. CONNIEJONES. So check out my website. I'm on social media. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram and Facebook, all under either Connie Jones personally in Peachtree City, Georgia, or I'm under Connie Jones Coaching. You can always find me there. So yeah, that's it. And I just, am so grateful for whoever's listening, and hope this, that something that one of us said just settled in your heart, and, lit something up for you, and that you will begin to really listen and trust what's in there. And don't let that voice have to that whisper become a roar, or have to come out sideways before you start listening, because there's so much life to be lived, and it's such a beautiful thing. And you can have it your way.
Yes, you can. And it cracks me up that you keep saying light and fire and lit, because the last question I ask all of my guests is, what lights your fire?
What lights my fire? What lights my fire? Oh, so many things. Well, I mean, personally, what lights my fire are just people. When I am around a person who's authentic and heart-centered and mission-driven, and they are just changing the world, however, in their imperfect, authentic way, that lights my fire. It lights my fire to see somebody break through a struggle, or to come out of that survival place where they've just been in the struggle and the stress. It lights my fire to watch people just unleash their magic, and build their dream and live that as their reality. It lights my fire. Animals light my fire. Nature lights my fire. All the things. Like I'm just such a passionate person, and I love life, and I just believe that we've got to live in the fullness of the potential of our being. And again, perfection isn't a requirement for that, but living a life of our dreams is the most beautiful gift we can give ourselves and give the world.
Yep. Well, thank you.
And that lights me up.
All right. Well, thank you. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back to you. I'm going to say goodbye to the audience.
All right.
Hang on a sec. Everybody, thank you so much for, again, hanging in, an hour plus. Isn't Connie freaking awesome? I love her to death. She's just so, just delightful. If you liked this episode, share, subscribe it, share it with a friend of yours. If you think that there's a message in here that they could use, when you subscribe, you get a notification of a new episode every week that it comes out. So, and when you download it, I get, it helps me, raise up the rankings of the podcast. So please share, subscribe. I appreciate each and every single one of you that are listening. We're close to 4,000 downloads now. I don't even know what to do with that. So let's get that number up. Let's get it up to 5,000 by next month. But thank you so much again. And, until next time, go and find what lights your fire. See you.